The countdown for launch of Space Shuttle Columbia on mission STS-75 is continuing on schedule today. The window for launch of Columbia opens at 3:18 p.m. Eastern Time and extends for 2.5 hours. Work at Launch Pad 39B, as well as operations here in Firing Room 1 of the Launch Control Center, continues as planned. No technical issues or problems are being worked or discussed at this time, and we do anticipate an on-time liftoff of the Shuttle Columbia and the 7-member crew from the Kennedy Space Center. Everything continues to go well with the countdown. The crew is on schedule, exactly on schedule to be taking out to the pad. They'll be suited up in the next few moments after they complete their meal. The crew has just completed a briefing on the weather conditions here at Kennedy Space Center, as well as at the various contingency landing sites. And we do have live TV of our crew being suited up for flight today, starting with Mission Commander Andy Allen. His pilot is Scott Horowitz, who is a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force. Doc Horowitz, as he is referred to, is on his first shuttle mission. Standing on the left is Claude Nicollier. He is on his third flight today. He is a European Space Agency astronaut. Again, he is standing next to and discussing the mission with payload specialist Umberto Guidoni of the Italian Space Agency. Jeff Hoffman doesn't have his helmet on yet, easily identifiable with his broad smile. Jeff is on his fifth flight today. He's flown 4 times previously, holds a doctorate degree in astrophysics, and has been working on the tethered satellite project for a number of years. Maurizio Kelly is an astronaut from the European Space Agency and a lieutenant colonel in the Italian Air Force. This is his first flight. Another one of our very veteran flyers is Franklin Chang Diaz. He has flown 4 times. This will be his 5th flight. He is the payload commander for this mission. And the commander, Andy Allen, has emerged from the building, followed by his pilot, Scott Horowitz, and payload commander Franklin Chang Diaz, mission specialist Jeffrey Hoffman, mission specialist Claude Nicollier, Maurizio Kelly, and payload specialist Umberto Guidoni.
And DRPS OTC, have we go to start APU and hydraulics trip chart recorders. Yeah, PS copy. Prepared sequence 4.
And a final test of the flight control surfaces will soon be conducted. This is a program pattern of movements designed to verify the readiness for launch of the engines and other flight control surfaces. The final air surface checks of the orbiter's flaps and rudder are being completed. This verifies the orbiter's hydraulic systems are up and running. And the three main engines are being gimbaled for a final test before launch.
Copy, and flight crew, you have a go to close and lock your visors, initiate O2 flow. Godspeed, Columbia, on a truly international mission in space.
We're that work, and I'd like to thank you all very much. And with a request from my crew, arrivederci, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen, and adios. We'll see you in a couple weeks.
CLS is go for auto sequence.
And we have a go for auto sequence start. Columbia's onboard computers have primary control of all the vehicle's critical functions. T-minus 20 seconds. T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. We have a go for main engine. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And we have liftoff of the Space Shuttle Columbia, continuing space research through tethered satellite technology.
Houston, Columbia, we're on a roll. And 11 command.
Roger roll, Columbia.
Houston now controlling. Columbia rolling on course for a 28.5 degree inclination orbit.
Gauge is showing 45% on the left.
Roger, stand by.
We're showing good output.
Columbia, we're showing good engines, good commands on all three.
Okay, thank you much.
Good call with that. All engines operating well on board Columbia. Columbia's engines now throttling down to 2/3 throttle to prepare the spacecraft to pass through the area of maximum air pressure and go supersonic. Booster officer confirms a good separation of the twin solid rockets. Columbia now on its second stage main engines. 3 main engines again operating well at full throttle.
Columbia, performance nominal.
Copy, nominal performance.
6 minutes till cutoff of the main engines. Columbia's altitude now 33 nautical miles. Columbia's speed now 6,200 miles per hour. Columbia's trajectory will level off at this point as it accelerates to the east, almost tripling its current speed to reach the 17,400 miles per hour required for orbit. We're just now receiving live television from Columbia as it passes almost directly overhead the Houston area. This television through the Merritt Island tracking station located near the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. On board, all activities continue to go smoothly for the crew. They've opened the payload bay doors, and just about 10 minutes ago or so, they were given a go for orbit operations. That go, the indication that they can be prepared to stay in orbit for an extended period of time, currently on track for their 14-day flight.
Columbia, Houston.
Go ahead, Houston.
Yeah, Andy, just giving you a heads up that you have a go to configure for verniers, and then you can go to verniers early to help save some prop.
We are standing by to receive live television of the astronauts in the operations and checkout building at Kennedy Space Center as they are seated for their breakfast. And here we have live TV of the crew. The crew are divided into 3 shifts for this mission. So for this last meal before launch, they are eating either breakfast, lunch, or dinner, depending on what sleep cycle they are on. This has been set up to accommodate the round-the-clock operations of the various experiment packages on board the shuttle. Maurizio Kelly is from the European Space Agency. He'll be making his first trip into space today. And to the right is a veteran space flyer, Franklin Chang Diaz, making his 5th flight into space today. Scott Horowitz, or Doc Horowitz, is a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force. He's preparing for his first flight, and Commander Andy Allen, a lieutenant colonel in the Marine Corps, is preparing for his 3rd flight into space today. Mission specialist Jeffrey Hoffman, also a very experienced space flyer, preparing for his 5th flight into space today. And rounding out the 7-member crew is on the left. We have Claude Nicollier, who is making his 3rd flight into space, as well as Umberto Guidoni, who is preparing for his 1st flight. Everything continues to go well with the countdown. The crew is on schedule, exactly on schedule to be taking out to the pad. They'll be suited up in the next few moments after they complete their meal. After suit up, of course, they will then walk out to the pad or out to the Astrovan, which will carry them out to the pad. That departure for the pad remains on schedule for just a few minutes before 12 noon Eastern Time today. Tanking operations went without incident today, and all went as planned. No problems with the tanking were reported. Today's launch will be Columbia's 19th flight and the 75th shuttle flight overall in NASA's Space Shuttle program. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 3 hours in holding, and we do have live TV of our crew being suited up for flight today, starting with Mission Commander Andy Allen, who is on his 3rd space flight today, served as pilot for both STS-62 and 46, the first flight of the tethered satellite. He is a major in the Marine Corps and has more than 4,000 hours of flight time in over 30 types of aircraft. Commander Allen was born in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. He's a graduate of the U.S. Naval Test Pilot School. His pilot is Scott Horowitz. who is a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Air Force. Doc Horowitz, as he is referred to, is on his first shuttle mission. Again, he is in the Air Force, holds a doctorate degree in aerospace engineering. Moving on around the room, we have two of our, we have our payload specialist, who is Umberto Guidoni, who is with the Italian Space Agency. Umberto is an Italian Space Agency astronaut and a researcher for the Italian Space Physics Institute. He is standing, well, he was standing next to one of our other payload specialists. Suit-up technicians are assisting the crew in getting their suits on. Of course, when they have their helmets on with the dark visors, it's impossible to tell who they are. In this case, Jeff Hoffman doesn't have his helmet on yet. Easily identifiable with his broad smile. He was born in Brooklyn, grew up in Scarsdale, New York. Jeff is on his fifth flight today. He's flown 4 times previously, holds a doctorate degree in astrophysics, and has been working on the Tethered Satellite project for a number of years. Maurizio Kelly is an astronaut from the European Space Agency and a lieutenant colonel in the Italian Air Force. This is his first flight. He has flown over 2,200 hours in more than 45 types of aircraft. These suits are capable of being partially inflated to provide added comfort and protection during launch and landing operations of the space shuttle. Another one of our very veteran flyers is Franklin Chang Diaz. He has flown 5 times, or excuse me, he has flown 4 times. This will be his 5th flight. He is the payload commander for this mission. He holds a doctorate degree in applied plasma physics and is director of the Advanced Space Propulsion Laboratory at the University of Houston, Texas. Standing on the left is Claude Nicollier. He is on his 3rd flight today. He is a European Space Agency astronaut who has flown on both STS-61 and STS-46. He is a captain in the Swiss Air Force and holds a master's degree in astrophysics. Again, he is standing next to and discussing the mission with payload specialist Umberto Guidoni of the Italian Space Agency. This is shuttle launch control at T-minus 3 hours and holding, and we do have live television of our flight crew on the 3rd floor of the operations checkout building, just departing their suit-up room and making their way toward the elevator, which will take them to the base of the room. There is a wide range of interest on this mission and its international crew. Workers at Kennedy Space Center, of course, are all anxious to see this one go on time today. All events in today's launch countdown continue to proceed without any problems. We're standing by for the crew to exit their crew quarters, exit the operations and checkout building in KSC's industrial area. They will be entering this astronaut van, which will then take them on their 25-minute drive out to launch pad 39B on the eastern coast of Florida in Brevard County. And the commander, Andy Allen, has emerged from the building, followed by his pilot, Scott Horowitz, and payload commander, Franklin Chang Diaz, mission specialist, Jeffrey Hoffman, mission specialist, Claude Nicollier, Maurizio Kelly, and payload specialist, Umberto Guidoni. Riding along with the crew in the astronaut van are members of the flight crew office and other astronauts who will be performing weather assessment functions for the launch today. Astronaut Robert Hoot Gibson will be piloting the shuttle training aircraft, which will be used for weather reconnaissance prior to and during today's launch. Frequently, we have support from the Air Force or from NASA helicopters and from pilots who also track the crew's progress out to the pad. And we have a view of the flight crew at the 195-foot level at pad 39B as they are making their final preparations to enter the orbiter Columbia. The crew for this mission have been at Kennedy Space Center since Monday afternoon. During their stay here, they have been through the standard pre-launch activities, including flying the shuttle training aircraft, going over pad procedures, and taking part in orbiter and payload status briefings. Currently standing in the white room, as it is called because of obvious whiteness of the paint, we have the commander of this flight, Andy Allen. He is the commander for this mission. We have a good view of the two veteran flyers, Jeff Hoffman and Franklin Chang Diaz on the right. Both are preparing to make their 5th flight into space today. Franklin Chang Diaz holding up a sign to his wife Peggy and his 4 children, Jean, Sonia, Lydia, and Miranda, as he prepares to enter the Space Shuttle Columbia for his 5th excursion into space aboard the Space Shuttle.